courtesy of Zero Hedge. The writing this story will prove to you regarding precious metals, the writing is on the wall. Texas, the state, pulls $1 billion in gold from the New York Fed, makes it, quote, non-confiscatable. Lack of faith in central bank trustworthiness is spreading. First Germany, then Holland, then Austria, and now, as we noted was possible previously, and they put a link to that previous talk, Texas has enacted a bill to repatriate $1 billion of gold from the New York Fed's vaults to a newly established state gold bullion depository. Newly established state gold bullion depository. Why would a state do that? Gold and silver, they've been smashed. They're holding them down. $16 silver, less than just under $1,200 gold. They won't let it rise. Every time it rises, they smash. Texas, what are you doing? Don't you see the precious metals prices? Why would you do this right now? Because Texas knows. Quote, people have this image of Texas as big and powerful. So for a lot of people, this is exactly where they would want to go with their gold. And the bill includes a section to prevent forced seizure from the federal government. Guys, you want to store your gold with Texas? We welcome it. We'll protect it. And in this bill, statewide, prevent forced seizure from the federal government. No matter what emergency the federal government declares, should they ever declare an emergency, we've got to repeat the 1930s. We're gonna take everyone's gold. Sorry, it's already on the books and our law for our entire state. That doesn't apply to us. Get lost. And from 2011, the University of Texas Investment Management Co., the second largest U.S. academic endowment, took delivery of almost $1 billion in gold bullion and is storing the bars in a New York vault, according to the fund's board. The decision, this was from 2011, the decision to turn the fund's investment into gold bars was influenced by Kyle Bass, a Dallas hedge fund manager and member of the endowment's board, Zimmerman said at its annual meeting on April 14th. Bass made $500 million on the U.S. subprime mortgage collapse. Quote, central banks are printing more money than they ever have. So what's the value of money in terms of purchases of goods and services? Bass said yesterday in a telephone interview, I look at gold as just another currency that they can't print any more of, end quote. And now, after we noted the possibility previously, as the Epoch Times reports, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill into law on Friday, June 12th, that will allow Texas to build a gold and silver bullion depository. In addition, Texas will repatriate $1 billion worth of bullion from the Federal Reserve in New York to the new facility once completed. On the surface, the bill looks rather innocent, but its implications are far-reaching. HB 483, quote, relating to the establishment and administration of a state bullion depository to store gold and silver coins, was introduced by State Rep. Giovanni Capriglione. And he told the Star-Telegram, quote, we are not talking Fort Knox. But when I first announced this, I got so many emails and phone calls from people literally all over the world who said they want to store their gold in a Texas depository. People have this image of Texas as big and powerful. So for a lot of people, this is exactly where they would want to go with their gold. But isn't New York, where most of the world's gold is stored, also big and powerful? Why doesn't the state, or why does the state of Texas want to go through the trouble of building its own storage facility when we have Wall Street to go to now? There are precisely two important reasons One involves distrust in the current storage system. The second threatens the paper money system as a whole. Quote, in a lot of cases with gold, you may not have clear title to the metal. Yeah, but it said it was an allocated. Hold on. You may not have clear title to the metal no matter what you thought. Let me add that piece in. You may have had a counterparty relationship that makes you a creditor. If the counterparty has a problem unrelated to gold, they can default, and then you can become an unsecured creditor in bankruptcy, said Keith Weiner, president of the Gold Standard Institute. This means you get whatever is left after liquidation, often just a fraction of the initial value of your holdings. Quote, this exact scenario happened with futures broker MF Global. I remember that story, don't you? I knew people who had warehouse receipts to gold bars with a specific serial number, but that gold had encumbered title and they became unsecured creditors in bankruptcy, he said. In Texas, two big public funds from the University of Texas and the teacher retirement system owned gold worth more than $1 billion. I remember doing a story on that, by the way. Being uncomfortable with holding purely financial gold in the form of futures and exchange-traded funds, i.e. paper, University of Texas actually took delivery of the gold bars in 2011 and warehoused it with HSBC Bank in New York. Not exactly the best decision, exactly, but we had to do something with it. Now that this is coming online, we think we want to use that. At the time, pension fund, well, I don't have to keep going on that. Taking the gold to Texas would also solve the counterparty risk. In this case, it's going to be a depository. The gold is going to be there. They're not going to be able to lend it out. They are not going to be able to lend it out. And it won't serve as collateral for other transactions of the bank, said Victor Sperandio of trading firm EAM Partners. Because if the bank closes, you are screwed. I think that somebody was looking at that. We better have this under our complete control, said constitutional lawyer and gold expert Edwin Vieira of the Texas bill. They don't want to have the gold in some bank somewhere, and in 2 to 5 years it turns out to not be there. Section A2112.6.023, the bill states, a purported confiscation, requisition, seizure, or other attempt to control the ownership is void ab initio and of no force or effect. Effectively, the state of Texas will protect any gold stored in the depository from the federal government. Now this is one of those times when I really do need that little American flag, so that when I say proud to be an American, I can actually mean it this time. Although I'm not a Texas citizen, so I'm not proud to be a Texas citizen. Proud to be an American. Doesn't quite fit, but it still makes me proud that a state in America has decided to do that. And if anyone was a betting person, betting man or woman, do you think maybe, just maybe, since there's 50 states, 49 others, some or at least another one somewhere is going to say that's not a bad idea? And granted, they may say that that's not a bad idea when it's a little too late and there's a problem with their state's retirement system and they didn't store their retirement in gold. Let me tell you something about those people. That teachers association or whatever it was for their retirement that they've got in gold. Let me tell you something about how their retirement's going to look when it comes time. They couldn't have picked a better time over these last several years to put their nest eggs into that fund. Or into, yeah, it's a fund at this point. So, of course, depending on when they retire specifically, some are going to do very, 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 very well. I mean, that's just going to happen. Just talking about this stuff with the guy that lives a little bit, good bit south of me, Port Charlotte area. We were talking about, gold, silver, September, and all that. And, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but there was I think I did. Lindsey Williams sent out his little newsletter, update, whatever. It had a whole bunch of stuff in it, but it was 90% was basically other people talking, not the elitist friend. Just, this is a friend of mine, and he's a financial expert. This is a friend of mine, he's this expert. This is what he had to say about such and such. And, I'm reading it and saying, yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's the same stuff we've been hearing about for a little while now. But, if it's coming from Lindsey Williams, I don't care, honestly, what your friends, as far as not the elite, but other friends say, because they're not the oil executive, retired oil executive. Therefore, anything out of their mouth is definitely speculation, no matter how good it sounds and how much sense it might even make and might even be true. It still has to be treated as speculation, in my opinion. When it comes from the insider elitist friend of his, retired oil executive, that's what I want to know. And he said in the beginning of that email that he sent out to everybody, or whatever, if you subscribe to that website, lindseywilliams.net, it said, I recently got off, spoke with my friend, my elite friend. And it said, I read it again after I talked about this the other day, and actually it said, was I think the actual quote. Basically the financial collapse problem, whatever, is still on for later this year, but I thought it said from starting in September, but before December or something like that. So basically September, the end of the year, was how it was worded, something like that. So again, it's still the same time frame as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's still September, October-ish. I mean, that's when all these cycles come to an end. So, are the elite gonna miss these once in literally a lifetime opportunity with their occult thinking and numerology and all this crap that they rely on to say, well, it happened, this was an extremely important time frame, and we decide to let it skip on by 2 or 3 months, and then we can let the party get started? I mean, if they got reasons and it's just flat out well, either we wait 2 or 3 months or the whole world's going to know we've done it, that'd be a good reason to not do it right on schedule. Let's let the conspiracy theorists have some egg on their face by not letting this happen exactly at September, October, waiting a few months, then letting it happen. Well, I got news for you. A few months later wouldn't make anyone have egg on their face. That's close enough that anyone would say, hey, my buddy, my so-and-so was talking about this September, October. It was, 2 months later, 3 months later. Worst financial collapse the world ever saw. You're going to look at him and say he's some kind of bozo because he told you it should have happened 2 months ago and then it happened? No, absolutely not. So, once again, gold and silver. There's that discussion of gold and silver. So not only does that depository handle gold, but as it said, it will do silver too. Gold and silver. This is not going to be some kind of banking institution that lends out stuff or has any kind of way of basically defaulting, failing. So you don't have to worry about if anything bad happens, they took our gold as collateral somehow, even though that was illegal, but the system allowed them to do that, and now I'm stuck in some kind of bankruptcy situation where I'm now an unsecured creditor, and I have to try to get, fight other people for pocket change of our precious metal holdings. Nope. They took that into account. Not only did they take that into account, they created that section in the bill that says that even if the government basically, right? The federal government decides to try to take this from us for any reason, it's already on the books as law. You can't touch it. So there goes another $1 billion worth of gold taken from the New York Fed, who doesn't really have it to begin with, right? So we're trying to scrape by as we always do to come up with this gold to give everybody that wants it back. Try to postpone and everything else as long as we can. We're supposed to have this huge amount. And again, what about Fort Knox? Oh, we got that gold, don't we? I was reading something about that the other day that I never knew. Like very recently, like within the last week or so. And it said there had been like 14 gold audits to date of Fort Knox. And I think like the last one happened in the 80s, 1980s, or maybe early 90s or something like that. Like there hadn't been another one or something like that. So of that time period, which is long gone, we haven't had another one since, which is incredible. They said, look, every time we did an audit, it came back like pretty much spot on. I mean, it was within that percentile of being like almost perfect, that it's qualified as, you know, it's all there. Except a little funny problem happened. Like 7 out of 14, something like that, of these audits over all these different years, from like the 70s to like, you know, early 90s or late 80s, whenever that last one happened. 7 out of 14 are now missing and gone. We don't know where they went, and they're lost them. Just, you know, just can't find them. Don't know what they said. What do you think the possibilities of that are? The nation's wealth is at stake. Fort Knox, the gold that we have as a nation, we supposedly had more than any other country in the world. Now, of course, China, I would beg to differ. They might have us beat. However, what I'm even referring to might not even be there. So whatever numbers they say we have might be complete garbage. Why would half of the audits be now missing and gone? Because they weren't true and correct to begin with. And we can't have you looking at those. That's my opinion. I mean, you can't misplace something that important 7 times out of 14. And then say we're just done doing it. So for the next 20 years or more, 25 years if it was 1990, we don't feel we need to audit that anymore. And it just so happens that this last 10 years especially would be the most prime time you would need to do a nice, hefty, accurate audit. I mean, really. With all the gold speculation and repatriation, every time someone asks for it back, we tell them no, not now. We have your gold. We're storing it under safe, you know, lock and key. We can't give it back to you right now. Remember, Germany will give it to you in 7 years from now. How's that sound? Hold on, what? 7 years? Yeah. We'll do 50 tons a year for 7 years. And then the first year comes, we give them like 5 tons. 5 tons! Couldn't even meet the 50 or whatever, you know. Here's 5. Okay, well, we said 50. And we even agreed to 7 years. You only gave us 5? What? Can we renegotiate on that? And you know what they said? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll relook at that a little later. I don't even remember now what has ultimately happened with that. Did they finally get it all back? Did they just stop? I mean, I haven't been keeping up with it. I don't even know. But that is a telltale sign. We don't have anybody else's gold. So the question remains, we might not have anybody else's gold, but do we really have our own gold? Again, I'm going to say no. Because anytime that someone needed gold, it was a national security issue that we just allowed it to happen across the world. If we had to lose some of our reserves to put out these fires, so to speak, of people wanting gold across the world, I guarantee we did it for the national security purposes of keeping our dollar stable. Because if we didn't have that gold to give out to everybody and there was a shortage, it would cause the price of precious metals to absolutely skyrocket, thus making your dollar, our dollar, something the world may not want as much anymore. Therefore, we would do anything we would have to do to make sure that dollar stays secure and safe and at a confident, the confidence level has to be high with our dollar. And if that means selling our gold, which as Ben Bernanke said himself is not money, we don't look at it as money anymore. When Ron Paul asked him that question, he would in a heartbeat say, yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of it. We'll get it back later, don't worry about it. And then they found out, in my opinion, it's really hard to get back because there's more demand than ever. Well, we got Germany's and Mexico's and this guy's gold. And owning it, holding it's 9/10 of the law. So, yeah, we have your gold, and we'll just pretend that we don't have it if the time ever comes and give you some big story. And we'll just pay you off in dollars for that amount of gold, since we can just print it anyways. That could happen. So, bottom line, Texas doing the right thing, big time. It's only a matter of time. The rest of the world's going to start realizing this. It's only going to take one type of default of somebody's gold somewhere to say, hey, I don't trust that system anymore. And while simultaneously saying, if that place defaults and doesn't have the gold, where is the gold? And if that's the case, someone's buying this. And if that was a big secret, now we just found out because of this lawsuit or whatever happened, and this depository doesn't even have it. They've got rid of it. So that how and why did they get rid of the gold? Must mean that someone really wants gold. Must mean this gold and silver is important. Maybe I ought to get some. Except I'm not going to store it. I'm going to hold it myself. Something I keep hearing about this gold and silver lately. I keep hearing about it, and it's starting to make me a little nervous. So I think I'm going to want to go and get a little bit. Right? That's going to be the mindset of just the average person who had no clue about any of this. If you hear something a little bit more, it starts to make you, I've been hearing about that lately. You know what? Yeah, I've been hearing about that lately. Such and such. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I bought mine, years ago. Where you been? And if prices haven't already skyrocketed, it might be a little too late for you. But it's never too late because a panic frenzy always ensues. So, once again, just my bottom line here is that gold and silver are going to have something to do with the after effect of this financial crisis when it comes and unfolds. We will not be doing the same thing we've been doing all these years over again, and everyone say, yeah, my retirement's been destroyed, everything's been destroyed financially for me, and I'm willing to just accept that and start over and do the same damn thing again and watch the same big banks get bailed out, watch Congress give billions of dollars of our money away to these big corporations, everything can just remain the same. This sounds like a phenomenal idea. The biggest thing is going to be people's retirement. So again, it makes you wonder, I mentioned this before, if before the huge collapse happens, is the federal government, or while it's happening, step in and say, remember those MIRA accounts, the My IRA, right? The MIRA accounts we created a while back? They're on standby for a reason, wink, wink. Go ahead and, before your retirement loses any more money, let's put them in these IRAs. Or, oh, by the way, last night while you were sleeping, we just did it. Passed a new law in the middle of the night, and we took you out of the stock market by force and put you in these IRAs, which you can't touch right now, by the way. That's why it's always a good idea to just be completely out of the system. Gold and silver is really like one of the only assets that I can think of that is really, truly, again, if you hold it in your possession, out of the system. You own it. It's in your hand. See, well, you might say, well, I actually demanded my stock share certificates to be sent to me, and I keep those in a safe at my house. So that's the same thing. Is it really? You've got this piece of paper with writing on it in your safe. And stocks can, and from time to time do, completely collapse. And you're left with almost nothing, if not nothing. You can't ever be left with nothing or even almost nothing with gold and silver when they can't pull it out of the ground for free. And that's not going to stop anytime soon where people decide I'm not going to mine gold and silver anymore. Not going to happen. And once again, one thing I was mentioning talking to this guy yesterday about, silver. One of the largest silver mines, maybe the largest, I can't remember, I think it was the largest silver miner is basically openly saying to the CFTC, the regulators, the system, the COMEX, we have a feeling, we know, that price discovery mechanism being the COMEX market, which is what it was supposed to be, where we're the sellers, we produce it, and then there's buyers that want it. That was the mechanism for price discovery. And it is becoming blatantly obvious that it's not what it is. We have a third party involved, which is a bank or the banks, who are the ones that are buying and selling for their own purposes, whatever that may be, but it is not for the price discovery purpose in which we were all told this was set up for in the beginning. And if we don't fix that, we're going to have to look at other mechanisms, is what he said. So, COMEX, the club, bankers, what he's saying is if you keep these prices down like this artificially, we're going to have to determine another way to set the price, and it's not going to be through you guys, your system. So if I'm the banking club, I got a choice to make. Guys, either we let the prices rise significantly and still control it, or these people are going to ultimately go somewhere else for price discovery, and that something else may be something we do not control. Matter of fact, it's not going to be, because they're already catching on. So what do we do? My gut feeling is that they don't allow the price to rise like they want to, and by force, something happens. It's out of their control. They've now lost that mechanism to set the price, and we really see the price discovery of gold and silver happen. And that's around the time you may want to unload your gold and silver. Yes, for paper dollars, because you will still be using those paper dollars in America to buy and sell and do stuff here. But you're going to get a whole bunch of them to do that with when you sell your gold and silver. Gold and silver will react the same way anything does when there's a frenzy. Yes, prices are going to skyrocket. That's when you want to get out, because they will always come back down to some kind of normal level. The problem is that normal level may be still significantly higher than where they are today. But if you sold during the frenzy, they will be way higher. So again, it remains to be seen where they're going to go ultimately. All I know is my thoughts, my actions has not changed a single bit. And I'm just waiting. Take care.